Jessica Chobot didn't just vanish from Expedition X with a big announcement or a goodbye. One season, she was right there, steady, brave, asking the questions everyone trusted. Then, all of a sudden, she was gone. No explanation, no special last episode, just quiet. The official reason was a creative shift. But people who worked behind the cameras say that's not even close to what really happened. Jessica wasn't only a host. She was the one who slowed things down when things got too risky. She questioned edits that didn't match what actually happened out there, and she pushed back when investigations started feeling more like risky shows than real searches. Tonight, we're looking at what really led to her quiet exit. The one investigation that changed everything, and why some video might never get shown. If you like stories that dig deeper than the simple version, hit subscribe now. Because what happened wasn't just someone leaving, it was a warning. Before her exit turned into a mystery, Jessica Chobot was the heart and the brain of Expedition X. She wasn't just a host reacting to weird places or strange events. She was the link between the investigation and the people watching at home. While others looked at gadgets and ideas, Jessica paid attention to the bigger picture, how it affected real people, and what the proof really meant. That mix is why viewers trusted her so much. Right from the first episodes, the crew noticed she was different. When the cameras turned off, she didn't just leave, she stayed. She listened to audio again, looked at thermal video again, and asked for the full raw files instead of just the exciting parts. Multiple people from production say Jessica was the only person on camera who regularly asked to see the uncut stuff after an investigation ended. Not to get more time on screen, but to really understand what went down. Her past experience helped a lot. Jessica came to Expedition X after years doing serious investigative work, not just fun paranormal shows. She knew how easy it was for the story to drift away from the facts during editing. That made her careful in ways others weren't. She often asked if a reaction shot really showed what happened, or if a broken piece of gear was being made to look way more mysterious than it was. This didn't make her hard to work with. It made her careful and exact. Crew members say she almost never yelled or started fights. Instead, she asked calm, tough questions. Why did this edit take out the talk about leaving? Why wasn't this safety worry shown on camera? Why does this moment feel way bigger in the edit than it felt when we were there? As the show got more popular, those questions came up more often, and they started feeling annoying to some people. Jessica thought the real strength of Expedition X was trust, not just scaring people. She wanted viewers to feel the mystery without tricks, to feel the tension without making it bigger than it was. That way of thinking shaped how she looked on screen. Calm, steady, watching closely. She didn't have to act extra dramatic about the unknown. She respected it. But that same care started putting her against the way the show was quietly changing. Because as more people watched, the pressure grew to make things bigger and more exciting. And Jessica was right in the middle of that push. As Expedition X got bigger, the feel of the show started changing in small but real ways. What began as careful investigating slowly turned into faster episodes, bigger risks, and moments made to look super intense on TV. To most fans, the change was hard to spot, but inside production, it was obvious. Meetings started talking more about energy, big moments, and payoffs. Episodes needed stronger starts and more drama to stand out in the normal TV world. Jessica Chobot didn't leave Expedition X with big accusations or drama. She left with quiet control, and that's exactly why her leaving still matters to the show today. In a business that loves making things bigger and louder, walking away without noise can shake things more than shouting. Jessica didn't spill secrets. She didn't share hidden video. She just took herself out of a process she didn't think could stay honest anymore. That choice made people ask a hard question, not just for this show, but for all paranormal TV. How far should investigating go before it stops being real investigating? Since she left, paranormal shows have gotten louder, faster, and more extreme. Bigger risks, bigger claims, less room for "we don't know." In that world, Jessica's absence feels on purpose, almost like a lesson. She showed that trust isn't built by chasing answers no matter what. It's built by knowing when to stop chasing. Crew members who worked with her still talk about the Jessica check, a casual way to say check if a moment is being shown because it's important or because it looks good on TV. Even now, her influence hangs around in small ways. Jessica never said the show went over a bad line, but she didn't have to. Her choice said it for her. When fans ask why she left, the answer isn't secret video or scary ghosts. It's something way more unsettling. She saw where things were going and chose not to go there. That's why her leaving wasn't just an ending. It was a warning. And the fact that she gave it without saying a word might be the most honest thing she ever did on the show. Jessica Chobot's leaving didn't cause big drama right away. It caused quiet. On the outside, Expedition X kept going. New episodes came out. Investigations happened. Viewers heard it was a normal change. But inside, crew people say the feeling changed fast. Meetings got shorter. Safety talks got quicker instead of deep. Choices that used to have discussion now happened fast, often with no one pushing back. Several longtime workers noticed the questions Jessica always asked weren't being asked anymore. Why are we going deeper? What if this goes bad? Are we showing something real or making it look dramatic? Without her there, those pauses went away. Not because the answers got better, but because no one was asking for them. Editors later said the feel of episodes changed a little. More focus on reactions, less on not knowing. Moments that used to be called "we don't know yet" now sat closer to "this might be it." Nothing made up, just a change in balance. One crew member put it like this: before, we were investigating first and filming second. After she left, we were filming first and explaining it later. Jessica never went public to criticize the show. She never hinted at bad things, but people noticed that when people asked her about Expedition X in interviews, she talked carefully. She said good things about the team. She respected the work, but she never talked about the investigations the same way she used to. Privately, she kept in touch with some crew members. When anyone asked if she regretted leaving, her answer was always the same. "I miss the mission," she said. "I don't miss what it was becoming." Her leaving didn't show a big scandal. It showed an empty space. And in that empty space, the show kept going, just without the voice that used to slow it down before it went too far. After she stepped away, Jessica Chobot never did a big tell-all story. There was a big reveal, no podcast rounds, no shocking news, but people close to her say the most important things she found out were never supposed to be public video anyway. In her last seasons, Jessica started quietly writing down moments that didn't make it to air. Not because they were too wild, but because they felt wrong. Times when the data didn't fit the story. When normal gear problems got turned into something bigger later. When fear got made bigger not by the mystery, but by editing. She thinks some mysteries lose what makes them special the second they're pushed too hard. One former field worker said Jessica kept a separate notebook during trips, not for ideas about what things were, but for lines she didn't want to cross. Places where she felt going further would turn exploring into pushing too much. She didn't talk about it a lot, but she wrote quiet notes when she thought the team was pressing a place too hard, or when warnings from locals got treated like spooky background instead of real info. There was one investigation she reportedly said no to reshooting parts for, not because something scary happened, but because nothing happened. The readings were normal, the place was safe, and she felt making fake tension would be lying. That video got changed later without her. That stuck with her. Jessica wasn't scared of things we don't understand. She was careful about acting like we do understand when we might never get clear answers. To her, the real danger wasn't whatever was in the shadows. It was when wanting to know turns into thinking you deserve to know, no matter what. After leaving, she told one coworker something that never got said anywhere public. Some places don't need to be figured out. They need to be left alone with respect. What she wouldn't put on camera wasn't proof. It was the moment when looking turns into bothering. And once she felt that line, getting blurry, she knew leaving was the only honest thing left to do about what would happen if someone got hurt somewhere far from help. A crew medic said she once asked straight out how many minutes it would take to get an injured person out of a remote spot if something fell. When she heard the answer, she went quiet. Production bosses didn't ignore her completely, but her worries were seen as too careful, almost too much. After all, nothing really bad had happened yet. The show had always gone into tough places. That was part of what made it special. Jessica didn't agree. She thought just because they'd been okay so far didn't mean it was smart to keep taking bigger chances. In planning for new trips, she started marking places as no-go unless more safety was added. Extra people, better radios, stricter rules on where to go. Those asks often got answers about money and time limits. The message was clear, even if no one said it loud. The show had to stay quick. One meeting really stayed with her. A producer called a risky spot worth it if something finally breaks open. Jessica answered softly, asking if breaking open included people getting hurt. The room got quiet. After that, her job changed a little. She was still respected, still on camera, but left out of early planning talks more often. Choices got made before she was in the room. By the time she spoke up, plans were already set. Crew members later said it felt like two different goals were crashing. One side cared about real discovery and being responsible. The other side cared about keeping things moving. What made this so important was that Jessica wasn't trying to stop investigating. She was trying to slow down when the line between exploring and danger got blurry. To her, the unknown deserved respect, not rushing. Privately, she told a few close co-workers she thought the show was getting close to a breaking point. Not because of what they might find, but because of how far they were willing to go to find it. That tension wasn't loud. It was quiet, professional, calm. And that's what made it so serious. Because once safety turns into something you can bargain about, deciding to leave stops being about feelings. It becomes something that has to happen. The moment Jessica Chobot knew she couldn't keep going didn't come from a big fight or a scary moment in the field. It happened in a regular meeting room during a normal planning talk for the next investigation. They were finishing details for a faraway place with known shaky structures. Jessica had already looked at the newest safety reports and called the spot high risk. She suggested adding more people and stricter rules on how deep the team should go. The answer wasn't mean. It was just business. The budget wouldn't cover it. The schedule couldn't wait. The team would handle it. Then someone said the real reason. The investigation needed to get close. The episode needed real stakes. Jessica didn't fight. She listened. And right then, she got it. The way they were thinking had changed. Risk wasn't something to make as small as possible anymore. It was something being balanced against how entertaining it would be. Later that night, she went back to her hotel and started putting her notes in order. Not in a big, dramatic way. Just carefully. Field notes, emails, planning papers. She wrote a message asking to pause filming until safety rules and story limits could be looked at again. When the reply came, it was nice but clear. The show was going ahead. That was it. Jessica didn't leave because she was scared or mad. She left because staying would mean going along with a system that treated being careful like a problem. She wasn't willing to be the face of something she couldn't believe in anymore. 2 days later, she made the call. She would step back from filming. No public fight, no blaming, just a quiet line drawn forever. And with that choice, Expedition X lost more than a host. It lost the person who kept asking if the search was still worth the price. The next morning, Jessica talked straight to the bosses. She didn't blame anyone. She just asked one clear question. Are we showing what really happened, or shaping it into something more exciting than true? The answer, people say, was calm and neutral. The episode would be edited carefully. Safety would be handled inside. The story would be fixed. That didn't make her feel better. It made her biggest worry real. For the first time, Jessica saw that the problem wasn't just one trip. It was the whole system choosing which parts of what happened were okay to show. And in that moment, she knew something else too. If she stayed, she would have to stand in front of the camera and back up a version of the story she didn't trust. And that was something she would never do. After the investigation that set off big alarms for Jessica Chobot, she thought there would be time to think, to look at what went wrong, how close they came to real trouble, and whether the episode should even go on air. Instead, what happened next felt even worse. When the first rough edits started going around, Jessica noticed right away that important parts were gone. The times she called for a break, the talks about leaving, the unsure parts of the data. All of it was cut or changed. What was left was a smoother, more exciting version that hinted at danger without really showing how risky it was. One person from post-production said whole parts where Jessica asked if they should keep filming were marked as not needed. Audio showing crew feeling bad was made shorter. The gear failure was called a small glitch instead of a warning. The episode still worked as a show, but it didn't work as the truth anymore. Jessica didn't get upset or yell. She went to the editing room and asked to see the cut logs. When she looked, she saw something worrying. Some clips were already marked to be taken out before the full team even talked about what happened. That meant choices about what to hide were made before anyone really looked at everything. She brought this up in a call, asking why safety and unsure moments were being made softer. The answer was careful and businesslike, and it said a lot. Those parts were too scary for the show's tone. They could make people too afraid or cause legal trouble. To Jessica, that missed everything important. If something was scary, it needed explanation, not hiding. If an investigation put people in danger, viewers deserved to know. Her explaining parts got shorter. More voiceover went to other people. On screen, everything looked fine. Off screen, she felt like she was being handled. Crew members saw it too. One assistant editor said later it felt like Jessica was being protected from herself, kept from having too much say in the final story. Not because she was wrong, but because she was in the way. This wasn't obvious, cutting things out. It was filtering. Reality went through a filter made to keep the tone right instead of the truth right. For Jessica, that hit harder than any mystery. She could handle questions without answers. What she couldn't handle was acting like there were answers when there weren't, or hiding risks to make an episode look cleaner. And once she saw how easy it was to change reality in editing, she knew the problem wasn't going away on its own. The show wasn't just showing the unknown anymore. It was controlling it. That understanding quietly moved her closer to a choice she hadn't said yet, but was already thinking about. In the weeks after the edited episode fight, Jessica Chobot's worries moved from the story to something bigger. Crew safety. What used to feel like normal risk started looking like a pattern. Longer shoots, unstable places, less time built in for safety, choices made more because they would look good to us. Oh, viewers. Jessica started asking new questions, not about views or speed, but about how fast help could come, about backup plans. According to several crew people, Jessica was one of the first to ask if the show was moving away from why it started. She didn't mind tension or suspense. What bothered her was when the story started moving faster than the actual proof. In meetings, she asked if certain parts were being pushed because they meant something or just because they looked good on camera. Those questions didn't always go over well. Jessica saw that reaction shots sometimes got picked over real explanations, and weird equipment moments got made to sound scarier in editing than they felt out in the field. Nothing was made up completely, but the tone was getting sharper. Questions were being turned into hints. She pushed back gently at first, asking for more context, wanting disclaimers to stay, saying viewers should know when something wasn't solved instead of being hinted as solved. To her, not having all the answers wasn't bad. It was being honest. Things in the field changed too. Investigations sometimes went longer than planned, not because new clues were coming, but because the episode still needed a big finish. Crew members later said Jessica was often the one double-checking safety rules, making sure exit plans were clear, and asking why they were staying when things were getting worse. One technician remembered her asking a simple question late one night. "If nothing else happens tonight, are we okay with that?" The quiet, after that, said a lot. Behind the scenes, her push for being careful started standing out more. She wasn't saying no to investigating. She was saying no to making it seem bigger than it was. And in a place where ratings mattered more and more, that difference really stood out. What used to make Jessica so important, her focus on being accurate and safe, was slowly being seen as holding back, as causing problems, as not going along with where the show wanted to go, and the attention would soon become impossible to ignore. Because one investigation would bring it all out and make it hard for her to keep going, like everything was fine. According to several people close to production, the moment everything changed for Jessica, Chobot happened during an investigation that never aired the way it really went. On paper, it looked normal, a faraway spot with stories of weird activity, shaky ground, and weird electromagnetic stuff, the kind of place Expedition X had done before. But this time, the dangers were real. Right from the beginning, Jessica worried about the place itself. Unsteady structures, bad communication, and no clear way out in an emergency made it extra dangerous. She called it high risk and asked for more safety steps before they kept filming. Those asks were noted, then quietly pushed aside. The push to keep going came down to one thing: The episode needed action. As the team went deeper, equipment started acting strange. Readings jumped for no reason. Audio cut in and out. Crew members later talked about sudden dizziness, feeling lost, and a weird heavy feeling no one could explain. While those things felt scary, what upset Jessica most was how fast they were turned into cool atmosphere instead of warning signs. At one point, a piece of gear broke in a way that caused a short but serious safety problem. No one got badly hurt, but it was close enough to scare everyone. Jessica was the first to say stop and check things before going on. Cameras were still on. Later that night, she watched the raw video by herself. What she saw didn't match how people were talking about the incident. Thermal oddities showed up right when the gear failed. Audio weirdness lined up with how the crew felt. Whether it was the place, the tech, or something else didn't matter. What mattered was that it wasn't being taken seriously enough.